Hello everybody, I hope you're going well. Today I'm just going to show you my first game that I just played in France in a pretty cool chess tournament. Actually, I already played the tournament, so you're going to see all the results that I just made or that I just achieved on this tournament. It was a 7 round tournament in France, so it's a pretty cool type of tournament, not so long and not too short. Something else, I won't drop any names, so please don't be surprised if I'm not telling who my opponent is. The reason why I'm doing it is because when we didn't play on transmission, because there wasn't any transmission for this tournament, pretty untypical, but it's okay. So that's the reason why I'm not sharing the names. So now let's just start with the game. I played with the white pieces against someone who is lower rated than me, but you'll see it's not a problem. I play with white pieces and I play knight f3, d5, c4. This is a ready opening, and the idea is just to give the pawn, but then having some many cool counterplay and attack and so on. Actually, I'm never losing this pawn. It's like some people are taking the pawn, but this pawn is just so weak that there's just no reason to take this pawn. He played c6, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, and bishop f5. Okay, I think you already know this position from the Slav defense. This, and bishop f5 is actually a mistake. And this is actually the same position that we just had on the board. But instead of having the bishop on f1 and going on d5, I have already the bishop on g2. And the reason why it is still a mistake is because this pawn is still weak. So I just trade on d5. Taking with the pawn is the best answer, because if you're taking with the knight, I just exchange a c pawn for a d pawn, and for the endgame, it's not going to be a simple endgame for the black pieces, for the black camp, I mean. So he has to take back with the pawn, and if he's taking with the queen, just this, and this is actually the same problem. I have two central pawns against only one, and d4 is actually already better for me. Knight d5, e4, it's just a nightmare. But okay, this is a type of Catalan radio opening, so just keep in mind, if in the Catalan or in the radio opening, I just hope that my opponent doesn't know this YouTube channel, but actually when you have this bishop on g2, if you can have a pawn on d4 and then on e4, you're just having a great position. So cd, queen b3, and queen c8. Queen b6 is actually the best move, and the idea is that even though you have this double pawns, you are already threatening the knight, and if you're doing this, for example, e6, d4, knight e6, and the a4 is just too weak, and if I'm trying to play a3 in order not to get attacked, this is already losing for white. This is just unplayable. It's just completely crushing. So okay, that's the reason why actually I'm always playing with e3, e4, knight d4, and so on. But okay, this is something else. If you're playing queen c7 with the same idea and just developing the knight, and after this d4, you don't have bishop d6 because of fork. But for example, you play this, and I don't know if it's losing or not, but I just want to resign with the black camp. It is just a nightmare to play. You have to go back on d7, then just this, and you can actually, oh, actually this is winning, but if you go there, then just this, and this is completely crushing. Yeah, okay, you see, this is pretty simple to make a mistake. But my opponent played this queen c8, knight c3. Actually, he's threatening mate, so knight c3. I could actually castle first, but I don't see any reason to not develop the knight. Both moves are correct. e6, castles, bishop e7, and here we have the first critical position, because I have two type of positions. I can play d4, which I have already played 1,000 times, then this and this, and this is just crushing, or another plan that I just prepared for another tournament, because I'm playing the okay, it's like I'm going to play another chess tournament, a pretty strong tournament in France too. So I just prepared against an opponent, and I am just trying this line during this game, and you see this line has a problem, so it's actually better that I play this move right now. I play the move d3, and you will see the idea. After knight e6, rook e1 is the move, and after castles, the idea is to play e4. And actually, you don't want to play e4 too early, because you're just having a pretty weak pawn and probably a too advanced pawn. The reason why it is too advanced is pretty simple. First, if you're going there, I can trade and I am just completely fine. Like something like this, probably queen there. If he's taking with the rook, even though he's attacking me, like you see the Argentine is playing knight c5, but the Argentine is a bit stupid. Actually, the best move for me was something like queen c4, and the idea is that I'm just going to play knight e5 and bishop f4, and the position is just completely open for the rook, and I'm just a bit better, so I don't feel like the position is problematical. But let's say e4, let's say you go on g6, I can even play this, and after this move, probably this is better. Yeah, bishop f4 is actually better, and the black squares are just too weak, and taking there is not a good idea. Yeah, it's just problematical for the black camp. But okay, let's say you're just taking this like he did in a game, and then bishop g4. This is a pretty standard move. Here there are two moves that the engine is showing me: bishop f4, bishop e3, or if I want, rook d1. But my preparation is not stopped yet. The move is e5. The idea of e5 is pretty interesting. The idea is to have a pretty advanced pawn and then playing bishop f4 with the idea that I'm just having much more much more space in the center of the board, because don't forget that this is my part of the camp, my part of the chessboard, and this is the part of my opponent. So I just wanted to put a pawn on e5, and even though he can attack my queen, this is not a problem. You see, and that's pretty interesting, because if you're going on e8, we can all agree that this position is just a nightmare for the black camp, because even though you go back and just have knight d4, and it's just a nightmare. Everything is open, and it's going to be very tough to play. But bishop knight d7 is a normal move, but the bishop f4 is already something pretty surprising, because you can actually play g5. Actually, you can't, and this is the small part of the preparation. I can just take on g5, and even though you're taking first on f3, this and g5 for example, then I just have bishop e3, and even though you're taking this like this, after bishop g2 you still have the same problems, and even though you are a pawn up, this is your pawn up is on g5, and your king is wide open. So you have to find the best moves, and the best moves are actually knight g4, and after bishop d2 you have to find knight g5 again. You see, this is pretty tough. And then I just have knight e4, and you won't protect the pawn. f6 is just a nightmare, you see. And my preparation was pretty cool. And even though the engine is saying minus 0.5, this is a type of moves that are pretty complicated to find. So okay, just play e5, bishop f4, knight c4, knight c5, sorry. And knight c5 is actually still in my preparation, and I just know that after queen c4, the position is pretty easy to play. He played a6, and a6 is already a mistake. Actually, the best move is rook d8, pretty easy to play, and after rook a d1, the position is pretty equal after bishop f5. But my opponent played a6. The idea is to trap the queen, but you see it's not going the best as it should go. I played rook ac1, and the idea is that after you play b5, everything is wide open. In the game, what did he play? b5. And now the problem is after queen f1, even though my queen is a bit misplaced, you can't move any of your pieces, because let's say you move your queen on e8, for example, in order to defend everything. Okay, I just play, for example, h3. If you're taking, this is just crushing, because even though you have rook e8, I can actually play h4, h5, h6, and my bishop on f4 is going to attack the black king, and when my pawn is going to be there, you can't play g6, because it's just such a nightmare to have all its black square weak, and the fact that the queen is on d8 stops you from playing rook d8 and bishop f8. So, and this is one of the variation, but you see, I won't show too much of my preparation. Rook c1, b5, queen f1, and here he played rook d8, and after knight e4, I am pretty happy with this position. He's threatening rook knight d3, and I was like, yeah, okay, rook d1, but okay, probably this, and he's going there. This is not a quite easy position to play, but I found a pretty cool idea. Knight d4. Let's say you go on d3, then I just have, and now it is pretty beautiful, this move. I just stop the connection between the rook and the knight, so I'm just actually threatening the knight and the queen, so you have to take. I can't take there, but I can. But the idea that I was trying to play, actually it was this taking, and now it is just a nightmare to play, like knight ac5. And even though I'm giving the queen away, after taking there, you're just losing this piece, and I would be 3 pieces up, like a rook, a knight, and a bishop for the queen. For the queen, so it's going to be a very easy game. And let's say, okay, let's say I'm just taking there, just in order to show you. If you're taking this rook, I'm just taking with the knight, you're losing the knight, I'm out of material. And if you're taking on c1, rook takes, and you can prevent me from playing knight e5. And let's say you play this move, for example, this, and this is pinned. So you go on d7, and here my idea, I wasn't sure I want to play this, but I think this is still a good move, this is rook takes. And after queen takes, I have knight e5. You can take there because after taking this, I'm just attacking everything. But let's say after knight e5, let's say probably rook takes e6 is a good move. But okay, let's say this. Let's say you go there, for example, then I just have the same problems. And I have 3 minor pieces and a passed pawn on d6 for 2 rooks. But you don't have any square for the rooks. For example, you go there, just d7. I can already win the material back. And I'm actually up material, so it is pretty cool and easy to play. But okay, my opponent actually saw this, so this is pretty strong for my opponent. He was like 1600. On knight e4, he just took on e4, I took, and I was like, yeah, the position is completely fine. The engine is probably seeing 0.25 or something like this, but the position is still completely playable. Why? Just because you don't have so much moves with the black camp. The fact that your knight is pinned by the rook, this is already a pretty big nightmare, and you can prevent me from playing neither of this. And I was like, yeah, bishop f5, probably I can just play rook d4. And I was analyzing this position, I was like, yeah, it is pretty cool. But the problem is that he can just play knight takes d4. And after I take there, for example, rook takes, and this, no, this rook takes, and this. Actually, I'm down material. He has 2 queens. I mean, he has 2 rooks for my queen, the d file, the c file, and this pretty strong bishop. So giving away so much material for the queen wasn't good enough. So I just started to think, and after bishop f5, I was like, yeah, but I can just go back on e3, and now rook c3 is unstoppable. And playing this move doesn't help you at all, because I'm just completely fine in this position. We go back and taking the probably a 6, or probably this first, and rook d3, and this is completely fine for me. I was like, yeah, try to deal with that. But okay, my opponent made a mistake, actually. He played rook a7, and rook a7 loses immediately. So loses. My phone was telling me, yelling me after the game, I'm precise. After the game, my phone was yelling at me, oh, you are +5 or 6. I analyzed with a strong engine, like my computer, what is going on, only +1 or +2. So the move that I just played, you can actually find the move pretty quickly, even if you are only 1600 rated, is bishop e3. And the idea of bishop e3 is pretty cool. I am attacking the bishop, and I am attacking the rook. Let's say you go back on e5, f5 in order to attack me. I have bishop takes rook, and after you takes on e4, I have bishop b6. Let's say you go back on d7, then just knight d4, and everything is guarded. You can, like, if, for example, you take that, just taking with the queen, and you can attack me. And the differences between this move and this is because after queen d7, he's attacking everything, so I have to take on e4. And okay, you're just taking with the knight, and I'm probably better because the pieces are misplaced, but this is not so winning as bishop b6 first. And I was pretty happy to see bishop b6 first on the board against my opponent. So I actually, he didn't play bishop f5, he took on f3, which is the best move. Bishop takes f3, f3. Actually, I didn't look at bishop takes f3 because it was so stupid. I mean, there was just no need to look at this kind of move. And I was like, yeah, but where is he going with the rook? If he's going there or there or there, this is the same problem. If he's going there, for example, just bishop b6. And after you go back, like rook e1, you can't defend at all. Like the bishop is controlling, and the pawn is controlling every squares, and this is still losing, and you can't defend it at all. This, and this is losing. Or even rook takes this, and this is completely winning. let's say you go on b6 first, then rook f4, and you can prevent me from taking, and this doesn't help you at all. And if you're playing g5, for example, then just taking on c7, this, and this is winning. But let's say you go after this here, for example, or let's say after rook f4, you go there, then this doesn't help you at all. Just rook takes this, and for example rook e4, and you can't attack the rook, and for example you go there, then I just have rook d4 and everything is guarded, and I'm just winning so much material that even a baby won't cry for this kind of position. Just this is completely winning for me. So he took on f3, he played queen d7 in order to defend everything, but it didn't help. Please find a winning move for me. He resigned after the move that I just played. I just took the knight and he resigned. Why? Because I'm actually threatening the rook, and after you take my rook on c6, I'm just taking there, and I'm a bishop up. So it was a pretty clean game, 22 moves with the white pieces, actually 23, no, 22 because he just resigned after rook takes c6. So it is a pretty standard win for someone who is higher rated than his opponent. After the game, someone went to me, like a beginner went to me, and he asked me, what is the best way to improve in chess? And I just told him that there is no way to improve in chess because there is just no way to improve in chess. I really enjoyed this game because it was a pretty standard and a pretty easy way to show how does a beginner play against someone who is higher rated or someone who is just better at chess. My opponent played pretty correctly for someone who is pretty low rated. He was 1600 or 1570, something like this. Probably he has reached 1600 after FIDE rating after this game. But you see, this is the kind of question that we cannot answer. When I was a beginner, I also asked anybody who is playing chess, what is the best way to improve? And they all started to laugh at me because this is so stupid. Just play games, then you're going to improve. And there's just no more tips. Just play many games, and then at a certain moment, and it's not the same amount of time for every player, but up to a certain point, you're just going to play so much better than ever, and this is the only way to improve. So I just told this guy this is the only way to improve in chess. Just play many games, play many tournaments, online tournaments, and even real life tournaments. Even if this is only blitz and rapid tournaments, you have to play over the board. This is the only way to improve. And he couldn't believe me. Like, what? I just want to improve. Playing games is not good enough. I have to know every opening and so on. Yeah, but if you know the names of the opening, but you don't know how to play the opening, then this is just useless. Yeah, this is my answer for the guy. And actually, I remember that I always react like him. Like every grandmaster that I met was like, just play some games, and I couldn't believe it. But now I just understand. Now I just understand that this is the only way to improve. But okay, it was a pretty nice game. Thank you for watching it. Consider subscribing to the channel. We will probably reach 200 subscribers in the future weeks. So thank you very much. See you in the future upload. Take care.